From dodgy barbed wire mishaps being seen as a good thing for the business by veterans, to the odd star actually reveling in the often soul-crushing crowdless environment, these are those regularly dumped on wrestling happenings certain wrestlers are actually quite fond of as it goes. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestlers who absolutely love moments you hate. Number 10, Saraya sees the Lumberjack segment as a win. AEW Dynamite 2022. Now, you can hardly blame a returning Saraya for feeling a little nervous and somewhat rusty upon delivering her first All-Elite promo on September 28th edition of Dynamite. Yet it was the actual content of the former Divas and NXT Women's Champions returning promo that didn't exactly go down all too well with many watching on at home, with some being quick to question the thought process behind having the star shine a glaring light on the fact the division needed a change, before an impromptu Lumberjack match was booked over the interim AEW Women's World Championship. Saraya herself definitely felt there was some positives to be found in the rough, with the former WWE star stating on Twitter shortly after, "On a good note, I'm so proud of the women yesterday. Not only did they get more than 5 minutes to have a match, it was the first ever Lumberjack match, a woman on commentary, and a good portion of the roster being showcased. That's a win, even if it was a little rusty. Her time in the land of All Elite may not have gotten off to the most celebrated of starts, but every revolution needs to begin somewhere, right?" Number 9, Jericho thinks his barbed wire experience was good for the business. AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest 2022. Seemingly out of the gate, what could have been a genuinely barbaric barbed wire everywhere fight between warring bitter rivals Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho soon devolved into an overstuffed cauldron of unwanted chaos as the Jericho Appreciation Society inevitably intervened, despite their one-time shark-caged status, and the titular Savage tool found itself being largely nullified due to cheap-looking set pieces. Yet that still couldn't keep Le Champion from claiming to Absolute Geek Podcast later down the road, via Fightful, was actually good for the wrestling business. I think everyone enjoyed it, and those types of matches are good for the wrestling business, because people get a little bit too, "oh, it's not real," and someone gets cut on barbed wire and it changes people's perception. It must be said that there is a way of delivering the sort of aforementioned brutality that can make an audience sit up in their seats and wince whilst also giving them a deeply entertaining bout which tells a rather compelling story. This wasn't it. Number 8, John Cena loved getting the job done. WrestleMania 34. After spending a great many years fantasizing over what an undoubted dream match involving two of the biggest stars to ever lace up a pair of boots, or Air Jordans, would actually look like on the grandest stage, WWE only went and delivered the goods at WrestleMania 34. Only instead of the drawn-out slice of drama fans were hoping for, The Undertaker's recent lackluster displays in between the ropes led to John Cena being disappointingly dispatched in about 3 minutes. The bitter feeling of what could have been, in fact Cena was marched out to do the swift JOB after sinking beers with the fans in attendance, didn't take anything away from the overall experience for the longtime face of the company mind. With the multiple-time WWE champion claiming to Sports Illustrated, "My WrestleMania moment was to spend the time in the crowd and not do well in a very short performance, but I loved it because I got the job done. The focus was not me, the focus was someone else." Well said, John. Number 7, Alexa Bliss didn't think This Is Your Life was that bad. Raw 2017. Bayley's This Is Your Life celebration, courtesy of Alexa Bliss on a May 2017 episode of Raw, still makes for a pretty painful watch even half a decade on. Far from happily admitting that the entire car crash of a segment was terrible, Little Miss Bliss would confess on the Sam Roberts podcast that she didn't actually think the whole ordeal turned out as badly as it potentially could have. I was like, do you know what? If this is gonna go down, I'm gonna have fun with it while it's going down. While it was deemed the worst segment in Raw history, I feel like it could have gone a lot worse, okay? It wasn't that bad. And while Bliss was clearly trying to have some flaps, magaps fun in the thick of the largely booed and rejected sports entertainment skit, her positive outlook on this infamous occurrence still doesn't change the fact that this was definitely up there with the most excruciating of Monday night showings. Number 6, Bret Hart's opinion is all that mattered to Edge. WrestleMania 36. Through circumstances outside of the company's control for a change, the entire planet shutting down soon led to Edge and Randy Orton's bitter WWE grudge match having to play out in front of a live attendance of 0 within the Performance Center, with the one-time allies walk and brawling around the empty building for a staggering 36 minutes during their Mania 36 Last Man Standing slog. And needless to say, said never-ending punch-up wasn't exactly heralded as the greatest wrestling match ever by those watching on in their lockdown homes. That came came later. When it came to the returning Hall of Fame star though, there was only one opinion that mattered to him. As he explained to After the Bell, "When I have Bret Hart call me and tell me that he loved it because it looked like a fight, I don't care what anybody else says from that point on, because his opinion to me has more weight than absolutely everyone anywhere. Nobody's gonna top his opinion to me, and if he liked it and he thought it was a fight, good, mission accomplished." And it's hard to argue with that, really, isn't it? Number 5, Kenny Omega is proud of the exploding barbed wire death match, AEW Revolution 2021. AEW World Champion Kenny Omega was able to cling onto his strap with a little help from his Good Brothers, paving the way for a wholly disappointing post-match explosion that resembled an attempt at a backyard fireworks display more than anything else. Instead of entirely burying the contest that many feel has been sadly tainted by the dud of an explosive finale though, the cleaner himself was all too happy to salute the prior bloody battle that came before it. As he told Wrestling Observer Radio a little while later, the exploding barbed wire death match, the finish aside, "I'm glad, I'm really happy we did it. I'm proud of the match we called, I'm proud of the match we performed. It sucks that it will be remembered for something different. But when I look back at the match we did, it was a great memory for me." But with the company now going 2 for 2 in disappointing barbed wire conclusions, it may be wise to leave this weapon at home going forward. Number 4, QT Marshall sees the positive in Cody Rhodes and Anthony Ogogo's battle, AEW Double or Nothing 2021. On top of fans at home largely not being on board with Cody Rhodes' 2021 scuffles with former professional and Olympic bronze medal winning boxer Anthony Ogogo, the American Nightmare himself has also been quick to admit recently that his program with the relative newcomer wasn't exactly his finest hour under the All Elite banner. But that doesn't necessarily mean that absolutely everybody involved in the feud was entirely disappointed with how things ultimately turned out. In fact, the factory's own QT Marshall was quick to defend and celebrate the shifts put in by Rhodes and Ogogo at said All Elite pay-per-view. As he put it, "I think Anthony held his own. His first big match was on pay-per-view. They did a great job. Time was really restricted on that show because of people running long. They cut 6 minutes on the fly." Despite a fine enough performance in his first real high-profile showing though, Ogogo was never really given the chance to build on this exposure due to later having to return home thanks to visa issues and eventually getting somewhat lost in the shuffle by the time he returned to the All Elite machine. Number 3, Bryan Danielson loved wrestling with no crowd, WWE SmackDown 2020. For the most part, battling it out in between the ropes in front of next to no one was as awkward and sometimes excruciating for the folks within the squared circle itself as it was for those watching on at home. Unsurprisingly though, Bryan Danielson actually found himself reveling in the hugely bizarre circumstances, with the eventual All Elite star noting on 6 ABC Philadelphia News that he soon warmed to the idea of battling it out in an empty arena and even fell back in love with wrestling thanks to the unique challenges the surreal scenario offered up. As he said, "Some people just did their same old thing and that clearly doesn't work with no crowd. And so it made me look at wrestling differently. It challenged me. It was a lot of fun." Danielson also preferred duting it out with nobody in attendance over having the odd NXT recruit being forced to cheer on his matches with the likes of AJ Styles from the sidelines later down the road. Number 2, Seth Rollins loved his eye for an eye match, the horror show at Extreme Rules 2020. Arguably the most polarizing bout of that 2020 period of crowdless sports entertainment madness, and that is saying something, is one that Seth Rollins in particular actually classes as something of a success in hindsight. Speaking on the topic of his hugely divisive eye for an eye showdown with Rey Mysterio, the former WWE champion would notably admit to likely agreeing with hardcore fans who just wanted to see the two wrestle if he was 19 years old and taking in the gimmicky showing, but would also explain, "We gave them a great wrestling match and gave the casual viewer a reason to go, what the hell are they doing over there? I loved it. I thought it was great. I was really happy with it." Sure, the sight of a fake rubber eye popping out of Mysterio's mask may not have been everyone's cup of tea, but the two set out to make headlines with their one-take wonder and ended up on TMZ. Job well done? Number 1, Claudio Castagnoli is proud of the Nicholas match, WrestleMania 34. You'd have forgiven a star who was rarely given a decent share of the spotlight on the grandest stage of them all for being a little annoyed about having their big Mania 34 moment overshadowed by one of the most questionable booking decisions in recent memory. But being the glass-half-full performer Claudio Castagnoli undoubtedly is, the former bar star happily classes his and Sheamus's Raw Tag Team Championship defeat at the hands of Braun Strowman and a 10-year-old Nicholas as a really cool occurrence. As the eventual Blackpool Combat Club member would explain to Chris Van Vliet recently, the fact they were able able to leave kids at home thinking that could be me is part of what he loves about this crazy old business. That was very cool to be in that match for that matter, and the fact that people still talk about it to this day, because there was some bangers on that card. Any publicity is good publicity and all that, eh? And that's our list of any other wrestlers you absolutely love moments that you hate. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see your face very, very soon, but in the meantime, just be good to yourself. Bye-bye!